Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So, we're coming back to Kashtira, pure Kashtira. The main reason I actually wanted to talk about this deck again is because of something I noticed not only this season, but also last season over on Untapped, which was looking at decks by popularity. It seems that Kashtira is a deck that actually is still one of the top 5 most popular and played decks, even in upper ranks in Master Duel. Which kind of floored me, honestly, when I read that. I was very, very shocked because this is a deck that I would not consider to be particularly great. I think that it's not only a matter of like consistency, right? But also of just how breakable the end board for this deck can be. Kashtira, of course, the Arise Heart, can be quite the annoying card, particularly with the any card that is sent to the graveyard is banished instead effect. But one thing that's noticeable, and of course there's also the era zone blocking, which is pretty notorious as well. But one thing that neither of these cards, or any Kashtira monster has for that matter, is any kind of protection or negation, meaning that pretty much any hand trap or board breaker should in theory cause this deck to fold. Now, what you might be thinking might actually be the first thing I thought when I saw that pure Kashtira is as popular as it is, right? Oh, that's just because of the stun and floodgates. And indeed, Kashtira is often used as a vehicle for stun, especially with floodgates that banish like Arise Heart does, such as Dimensional Fissure or Macrocosmos. But Kashtira has also been known to slot in some other floodgates. However, you know what? I could actually just bring up the deck breakdown here over on Untapped for Kashtira, and I actually think I pointed this out already in yesterday's video when we were looking at the meta overall, but yeah, so we're even, actually let me refresh this so it's for today's, because I saw 2 days ago up there, but so we're even filtering by Diamond and Master rank, right? So 6.4% popularity is actually pretty insanely high. I think that's actually the 3rd most popular deck right now. And if we take a look at the deck breakdown, we actually see if we scroll down here, that look, even Dimensional Fissure, the most commonly played floodgate in Kashtira, is still only played in 36.5% of builds. Macrocosmos goes even lower, 24.9%, and doesn't even show you anything below 20%. So, again, you might make the same assumption that I did initially and think, oh, well, Kashtira is only popular because of the stun variant. But as we can see, the stun variant is by far the least popular. Very, very notably unpopular. Again, even Dimensional Fissure, the most popular of those floodgates, still seeing play in less than half, actually about a third almost, of Kashtira decks. So, what is it about Kashtira that makes it a mainstay in the metagame? That's a question I've kind of been trying to answer, and that's why I decided to play Kashtira a little bit. I think one of the biggest answers to this question actually ends up being Dimension Shifter. I think as far as like banishing effects go, is probably even more impactful than Arise Heart. Simply because, again, Arise Heart is so easy to stop it from getting onto the board, or once it's on the board, it's so easy to then remove, right? Like, even a very commonly played card like Imperm. Like, if you just peel an Imperm at the start of your turn, you can just use that to negate the Arise Heart. And I say if you peel, because if you opened an Imperm during your opponent's turn 1, when they're setting up a Kashtira board, you probably just use it to stop them, right? But the D-Shifter, right, they can open this card going first and use it. It'll last through to your turn. Obviously, going second is a very powerful disruption tool. I think this has, again, in my opinion, more to do with it than even Arise Heart. But I think it might also just have to do with the fact that Kashtira, despite taking so many hits and so many limits, is actually still a solid deck. It might not be like the most consistent, but it is definitely not like awful, not by any means, right? Of course, Unicorn to 2 and Fenrir to 1 are going to be pretty noticeable impacts. That's why we're on 3 Ogre, for example. But yeah, I mean, even if you only open Ogre and no other Kashtira monsters, just given what the rest of the deck is like, the rest of your hand is probably just going to be disruption cards. So, even if you have to Ogre, search prep, and then pass with, like, you know, Imperm, Ghost Mourner and like triple attack, I think something like that would still be, fine, right? Oh, speaking of Ghost Mourner, I was, despite trying out Kashtira, I wanted to try a build particularly without any of the floodgates, like no defissure, no macro, not even those, because again, I wanted to see, like, okay, if these are the majority of Kashtira builds, then a build like this must be solid, right? So in that regard, I actually put in Ghost Mourners, because I don't get a chance to play these too often. I think it's a really good card. This is basically Effect Failure that's a little more situational, but can also work by discarding. It doesn't have to get sent to the graveyard. So that's why we're playing it over Effect Failure. Of course, because again, we have the Shifter and a Rise Heart. Let's see. Other deck building choices, let me think here. I would have played Extravagance, Pot of Extravagance, but I think the main thing stopping me from that is that I don't own a third Rise Heart, and I don't want to craft one, because I don't really play this deck that often. So if I owned 3 Rise Heart, then I think what I would have done is I probably would have taken out both triple attacks and then played Pot of Extravagance and a third Ghost Mourner, instead of the 2 triple attacks here, right? We do have Prosperity, though, because we can still just pick what we banish with that. I guess this is also a deck that has gained a little bit from the most recent ban list. 3 Kashtira Birth, decided to try that out just to see how it was, if I really think 3 is too many or if 2 is still fine, even for a pure cash deck. I think that it is nice when you open like both this and Unicorn, for example, right? But at the same time, it's like it doesn't really add too much to the turn 1 inboard, outside of, being an extender if you already open starters. And opening starters is kind of one of the things that can be a little bit tricky in this deck sometimes, right? So the third Birth is fine, but definitely not necessary. Also rocking Double Zeus here. The Double Zeus is actually kind of nice, not only for stuff like Prosperity and Extravagant, if I was playing it, which I would if I had a third Rise Heart, but even for like opposing Unicorns, that's actually something that has come up for me when playing with the Double Zeus here in Kashtira. I think this is also the first deck I've played Double Zeus in as well, but certainly not the last. I do want to try out Zodiac at some point as well. I don't know, like, what else is there really to say? I guess I could talk a little bit about the games that I played. Of course, we're going to watch some of them, and how I feel after having played them. Do I think Cash is deserving of being, I think, again, according to Untapped right now, the 3rd most played deck right now? I still struggle to see it. Like, when playing the deck, I still struggle to open consistently well. I still struggle against Nibiru. I still struggle, like, with a Rise Heart getting impermed. And, like, I know that, one play session is not indicative of how a deck plays overall, but it's just kind of wild to me because, like, I'll see people, on, like, Twitter or a subreddit or whatever complaining about Kashtira, and, I didn't even really realize at first, because the first thought, I had before I realized how popular the deck actually was like, really, you're complaining about Cash, a deck that you, like, barely run into? But again, you see how popular it is, and it makes sense why people are complaining about it, but at the same time, I still can't help but feel like this deck is, like, just not deserving of how popular it is. It just feels so bad to play this deck. I don't know. Not bad in, like, a morally way. I don't care about that. Like, that's actually something that, well, we'll talk about that more, honestly, probably on the Patreon. I think I'm going to do a Patreon video about, like, how morality is brought up in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, mostly in reference to decks like Stun and Cash. Like, I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh! I gotta be honest with you, the community, as much as I love Yu-Gi-Oh! It's my favorite trading card game, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community is my least favorite community of the trading card games I've played. And one of the main reasons is for how immature people are about decks they don't like. The things that people say about Cash players or Stun players is like, I've read so many comments where people will say something about a Cash or Stun player, and I'm like, I would never say that about another human being in general, let alone over a fucking card game. But anyway, like I said, we'll get into that more in the Patreon video I'm going to record right after this. For now, let's break this list down card by card, and then we will check out some duels. We're on 3 Max C, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, 3 Planet Pathfinder, 3 Kashtira Rise Heart, 2 Dimension Shifter, 1 Kashtira Fenrir, 2 Kashtira Unicorn, 3 Kashtira Ogre, 1 Scareclaw Kashtira, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Pot of Prosperity, 3 Kashtira Theosis, 1 Pressured Planet Raitsoth, 3 Kashtira Birth, 2 Call by the Grave, 3 Infinite Permanents, 1 Kashtira Big Bang, and then finally 1 Kashtira Preparations. And that'll do it for the main deck. For the extra deck, we are on 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 number 11 Big Eye, 1 Red Eyes Metal Flare Dragon, 1 number 28 Titanic Moth, 1 Dark Armed the Dragon of Annihilation, 3 Kashtira Shangri-Ira, 2 Kashtira Arise Heart, 2 Divine Arsenal Ah Zeus Sky Thunder, 1 Superstar Slayer Typhoon Sky Crisis, 1 Infinitrack Goliath, and then 1 SP Little Knight. That'll do it for the list. Let's see some duels. Alright, so for our first game, it'll be against Tier Limit. Our opponent's not going to really do much here, but this will, of course, as I usually like to do for the first duel of a video, is show what a typical Kashtira turn 1 should look like. And we have the Planet Pathfinder. That's actually going to be enough to do our full combo. But before I use Planet Pathfinder, I'm going to toss out the D-Shifter. I like doing that on turn 1 because it will, of course, make it more difficult for your opponent to play. Even if they answer the Arise Heart, now all their stuff is still going to get banished. So we're, of course, going to Pathfinder for Raitsoth, Raitsoth for Unicorn, Unicorn for Theosis. Theosis put down the Fenrir, Fenrir effect for the Kashtira Arise Heart, and, of course, then special summon the Rise Heart. Now, from here, there are actually 2 different paths that you can take for your turn 1 line, and it comes down to if you want to play around Nibiru or not. Basically, if you want to play around Nibiru, you would activate Rise Heart's effect right now to change it to level 7, and then just overlay all 3 of these for the 3 material the Rise Heart. The benefit of this is, again, that you play around Nibiru because that's only 4 summons. Unicorn 1, Fenrir 2, Rise Heart 3, Rise Heart 4. Also, if you make the Arise Heart this way, it'll have 3 materials going into your opponent's turn, meaning it'll have the Disruption ability to banish a card on their field, ready to go, ready to fire in the chamber, right? The other option is to make Ira and then activate Rise Heart, and then we make a Rise Heart with just the 1 Ira. The upside, of course, being that you get much more bodies on the board, including Ira, which can do the zone blocking. The downside being you play into Nib, and also your Rise Heart's only going to have 1 material. So, I don't know. I don't play this deck often to know which one is definitively better. I generally go for the extended line, where I go into Ira and then make the Arise Heart later. I also misplay here, actually, because it had been so long since I played Cash. I banished, like, a random, Ogre off of Rise Heart. You're supposed to banish, I can't believe I forgot this, you're supposed to banish Big Bang, and that way you can get the Fenrir that's under Ira onto the field as well. So we're not going to have that, but it's not going to really make a huge difference here. Oh, one other thing about turn 1 Kashtira plays that's worth noting is the placement of Ira and the zones that you block. So Ira should go in the left extra monster zone. I guess really only the left one because it messes with that Agnister. I can't think of any other decks that it messes with, but still better to play around that than not. And then if you're going to block main monster zones, you want to prioritize the 3 that are closest to whatever EMZ you left open, right? In my case, the right one. I actually usually focus on the middle zone if the right one is open, because if I'm playing against Math Mech in particular, both Lingaribo and Splash Mage point to this zone. So that's why I usually prioritize blocking the middle one first, if I put the Ira in the left EMZ. And then from there, I'd probably go for these 2, because these are where their link arrows are going to point, right? You could also, if you wanted to, for your first zone, you could block one of the Pendulum Scales instead, to play around Pendulum decks. I don't think they're common enough to warrant that. The only time I think it was probably right to always do that was when Super Heavy Samurai first came out, and that deck was really big. But I think you should block main monster zones, generally, if you're going in blind on turn 1, and I would start in this order, so. Alright, so again, I should have a Fenrir on the field if I'd actually banished the, the Big Bang. We're just gonna have an Ogre instead because of the prep. And then, yeah, like I said, my opponent's not actually going to really be doing any playing because they're on tier limit. They're not only under the Arise Heart that's currently on the field, but also I use D-Shifter at the start. And again, that's why I like using the D-Shifter, because it would have been so easy for my opponent to just, like, have topped Imperm and then just throw it down here and use it on the Arise Heart, and then now they can make their plays, right? Pretty much uninterrupted. Although I would, of course, still have the Unicorn and Ogre here. But, so yeah, like I said, a pretty simple turn 1 cash line. I don't know if either one of the lines is better than the other. My thought process of going for the full line more often than not is that, you know, Nibiru is 1 card in a 40-card deck. They have to hard open it to use it, and that's if they even play it. So that's kind of a lot of circumstances, right? And also with you know, Master Duel being a best-of-1 format for Ranked Ladder, you know, on Ranked Ladder in particular, I think I'm always going to go for the extended opening, because, like, if I get unlucky and it's the, like, whatever single-digit % of games where they have the Nibiru on turn 1, then, okay, we just surrender and just move on to the next game, right? Now, if I was playing in a tournament, I'd probably go for the 3-mat Arise Heart at the beginning pretty much every time to play it safe, because then they're winning in a tournament. Winning every single game actually does matter. Ranked Ladder, not so much. So, again, that's our first example game. We're going to see some more back and forth stuff, though. Let's move on to that here. All right, here's back and forth. 6-turn game against Fire King Snake Eye. We actually have a nice little sampling of meta decks we're playing against, because I think we have a Yubel game at some point here, too. Alright, we're taking the first turn, once again opening up with the Planet Pathfinder. I'm going to lead by normal summoning that, and they have an Imperm for it, so... yeah, I mean, it sucks when that happens. They also actually have, if I remember right, yep, an Ash Blossom for the Pot of Prosperity. Which would have helped me find one of the other Kashtira monsters. Now you might be wondering, well, Hex, wouldn't you have Planet Pathfinder in the field? But you can actually tribute the Planet Pathfinder even if it's negated. And then I could do that and then special Finbearer, Unicorn, or Ogre. So, yeah, with those options now gone, the Planet Pathfinder and the Prosperity, I'm going to triple attack. Now, there are actually arguments for using multiple modes here. Typically, I use the last effect pretty much every single time with triple attack on turn 1. However, you could make an argument for me drawing 2 cards. I decided to do the hand rip, though. And I'm actually pretty glad that I did, because if we look at our opponent's hand, Maxi, Gamma, and Imperm, there's no gas in it. And now I am very, very glad I have this information. So my thought process here was that I wanted to hand rip instead of drawing 2, because if I didn't peel Finbearer, Unicorn, or even Ogre, I was going to be in a not great spot. But more than that, by looking at my opponent's hand, I can assess their threats, and I might be able to just keep Planet Pathfinder on the field until my next turn to be able to grab it with the field spell, right? So here I see Maxi, Gamma, and Imperm. If I recall correctly, I actually end up taking Gamma here, because, like, Imperm is kind of whatever in this situation. Like, they'll probably set it, and they'll probably use it on my Pathfinder before I get to main, so I can't use it. But then I'm pretty much in the exact same spot next turn that I am right now anyway, so that's not that big of a difference. Max C is only going to really be a thing if I have plays, and if I do, I'm probably just going to win that turn. So I decided to take Gamma here as the most threatening card, especially with a hand like that, where they're not going to be making plays, like, on their turn anyway. The Gamma definitely threatens to be live for quite a while here. So, yeah, they're going to set 1 and then pass. I'm just going to assume that's the Imperm. Draw for turn, getting another call by, certainly not lucky, and as predicted, they are going to use the Imperm in main phase before I have a chance to use Planet Pathfinder's effect. So I'm just going to battle set this call by and then pass right back on over to them. Alright, they're drawing for turn again. Now they have the Fire King Island. They don't have any fire monsters, though, so thankfully they can't just, like, pop a fire monster and go for Nuga Runix. They are going to go for the Ponix here and grab the Circle, setting that before passing. So it looks like their plan is to use the Circle on my turn, which they actually do during the draw phase, which I wasn't expecting. And they're also going to draw phase Max C. Now, I think that was a misplay. I think all of that was... well, okay, not all of that. Circling on the Pathfinder before it gets to main is actually really good, because then I don't get past priority and have the ability to tribute to get the field spell, and then, you know, I'm off to the races, basically. The preemptive max C, though, I don't agree, especially when the opponent is in the situation they're in. Like, I'm obviously just not going to give them any draws, right? Although, they probably used Max C because they probably thought they were going to have plays next turn because they probably thought Ponix was coming back. But again, I'm going to call by that. So, yeah, they're effectively still in top deck mode now. And I am actually still very much in top deck mode here, too. Also note that the top 2 cards were called by in triple attack, so drawing 2 off triple attack would not have found us plays. And here the opponent decided to surrender, which I was a little disappointed in, because I was like, I want to see where this goes, hang on. Like, I wanted to see if I actually got into their top deck, but just goes to show, some people just really don't like playing the long game. And that can happen sometimes with Kashtira. Like, yeah, it's not terribly difficult to OTK in Kashtira, but a lot of times this does kind of end up playing like a control deck, especially if you are on the floodgates, right? So, I guess that's another reason probably why people don't like matching against this deck, but anyway. Still got a couple more games to watch. Let's check out the next one. Alright, we did end up, in fact, having a Yubel game, so we're going to go ahead and check that out here. Alright, we're going second. Open a couple pretty good going second cards. This hand in general is actually very good. Alright, so leading with the Nightmare Throne to add the Samsara D Lotus, which is then getting summoned. Nightmare Pain coming down next. Nightmare Pain effect on Gruesome Gravescormer to add Yubel. And I actually, you'll notice here, that I maxied on the resolution of that search. The reason I did that was because it was very obvious why my opponent added OG Yubel to their hand. They were trying to make a Phantom before actually going into their combo line. So, yep, by getting that Max C in, we've effectively deterred them from that. They're just going to end up setting 1 card before passing back over to us. This hand is actually just cracked. I'm going to lead with Prosperity, though. See if I can't get, like, a Call By or an Ash Blossom or something to kind of help me out with that. Although, they might actually just surrender here, from what I remember. No, okay, not quite yet. We're going to special the Unicorn first, and they have an Imperm for that. Normally, I would consider myself pretty unlucky here, however, we actually just have like a custom Kashtira hand. I could just birth and then normal summon Fenrir anyway, and I even already have the Rise Heart, so yeah, I mean, okay, this is where they surrender. To be fair, though, the game would not have lasted really much or any longer anyway. Would have been very trivially easy to just special summon the Scareclaw Kashtira and or normal summon the Rise Heart and then just have 8k damage from there. Because all they had was the D Lotus, which of course has 0 attack points. But although that game was a little short, I still thought it was very important because, you know, one of the reasons that I was so into Yubel when it first came out, right? Why I like, in general, getting really into new meta decks when they first come out is to learn how to play around them. And as soon as I saw that Nightmare Pain search, I immediately knew what my opponent was up to because I'm intimately familiar with Yubel. It's a good piece of advice I always give that even if you hate a deck, actually especially if you hate a deck, you should still know how that deck plays because then you can counter it more efficiently. So, I think I do have one more game we're going to end off with here before we close out the video, though. And that final game is actually going to be a Kashtira mirror match. Opponent is on Extrav. They have 3 Rise Art. They're also on 1 singular Necro Valley as their only kind of like floodgate sort of effect, right? Alright, so going to lead with the D-Shifter. Again, blind to main phase 1. We're going to do that. Pathfinder for the Raitsoth. Activate the Prosperity next. And see what we can find here. Ogre, Birth, C, Rise Heart, Birth, Imperm. I think I actually take Birth. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Does it, though? Oh, actually, it kind of... Oh, no, it does, yeah. Because my thought process was that if Unicorn gets negated, I could normal summon Ghost Mourner, Synchro for Baron, and then use Birth to bring back Unicorn. That's why I picked up Birth there. I thought I was going to pick up Imperm for a sec. So, alright, here's the Rise Heart. Once again, going for the Era opening. Alright, Rise Heart F, banish the Big Bang. I actually remember to do it this time. Look at that. Zone blocking, again, gonna zone block the middle main monster zone first. Big thing to add, and then special Fenrir, going for the Arise Heart, and that should do it. Except I think we're gonna get nibbed. No, we didn't get nibbed. I thought we got nibbed on this game for some reason. Alright, Standby Phase is gonna grab that Unicorn. And they are also going to lead with Unicorn. Oh, but this is the thing about Kashmirs. Now, they get to go straight into Arise Heart, which I'm actually gonna Ghost Mourner. That way it can't get any more materials or use its disruption effect, right? Also, I definitely want to attach, the first thing I want to attach is the Infinitrack Goliath. And I actually have this in my extra deck specifically to get banished off of Prosperity. That way, Arise Heart can attach it by its effect, and then the Machine type Arise Heart gains the effect from Goliath that says it can't be destroyed by card effects. Can, however, still be targeted, though, which is worth noting. Now here, I'm going to use Fenrir on the Arise Heart, even though it's negated, so they can't just battle and then go straight into a Zeus, right? They will also, of course, take the 3k from the Ghost Mourner, and I get a couple more banishes here. They have their own Imperm, however, for my Arise Heart as well, so there goes that. No longer able to do my own, banish disruption effect. Alright, they do have the Birth here to bring back the banished Unicorn. Unicorn has not activated its effect yet, so they can grab a Theosis. And from here, I was like, ugh, because now I know they can, if nothing else, go for the overlay into a Zeus. Of course, with Zeus being at 2, even though I got Unicorn's effect in earlier, I didn't banish a Zeus, I banished a Big Eye. I took Big Eye out, that's right. Because, again, with 2 Zeus, it's like banishing one kind of does nothing, but taking Big Eye at least stops that from being an option, but no. Yeah, they have Rise Heart and they have Scareclaw Cash. I decided to just surrender here because I'm like, they have everything. Like, they could have, again, already just gone into a Zeus to wipe my board, but now they can do far, far more than that. So I decided to just surrender here and give it to them, so... Alright, that's going to do it for these games. Thank you very much for watching this video. That'll be it for now. Let us just move on now to the outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.